All right. Here we are. And I say here we are as if this is something to expect, but not something I was expecting. You know, high-level players, 2,200 plus. You tend to see a lot of Arabia. But we've got one of my favorite players to watch in the blue, Overtaken. And Overtaken playing as the Magyars on Nomad. This is a ranked 1v1 game. Overtaken is going to be behind, though, because unfortunately the hill here around this woodline made it awkward for him. And you could tell he really wanted to place his town center. And there he goes. Cool, cool. And then we've got Uzi. So Uzi might be a little bit less well-known. Uzi is a Mexican player, and he was actually gone for like 6 or 7 months and recently returned. Uzi is one of my favorite players to play in ranked. He always produces some like sloppy, messy games, but very aggressive. The random Civ on Nomad. Neither Civ has a bonus which necessarily screams incredible to me on Nomad, but that's good because that, you know, we're not talking about one civilization being way better than the other. Again, Overtaken with his dock over towards the right side, as is the standard on Nomad. You really want to get your dock up. And in his case, he doesn't have any food underneath his TC right now. He's going to scout with his little goose. And the way you can bail yourself out from not seeing a boar or sheep right away, or even just wanting to scout with one of your sheep, is to simply finish your TC and then create villagers onto the wood line. And then you can pump out fishing ships. So that's going to keep your TC working for the most part. Now, Ethiopians getting plus 100 food and plus 100 gold is really nice. So if you arrive to the feudal age and maybe want to go for fast archers, which the Civ is very good at, or even just go for fast castle and you want to maybe be greedy and not take gold, that can always be a really big deal. But both players doing the same thing I just mentioned. Overtaken now actually going to bring in his boar. But again, back to the players. Overtaken's a guy who is known for his Arabia style, being very aggressive with lots of forwards. So I could definitely see him trying to go for scouts here. You don't see it every day, but scouts into towers is really strong on Nomad. I think you see it less these days at a high level because players realize that if the opponent's going full land, that they can just kill their fishing ships. And so if you just lose 5 fishing ships, you kind of have to kill 5 villagers for it to feel even. But we'll see. I actually want to check. Did Overtaken notice that? Ooh, so Overtaken's villager must have started here. And so he actually knows that his opponent's TC is here because he can see the animals in the fog. And then Uzi has no indicators because Uzi's just scouting down here. Uzi with the slight lead because Uzi built the town center faster. I actually really like this TC position because you want a TC on a wood line. Nearby is some hunts, and you have to expect to scout for other resources anyways. And there's stone, there's berries. There's even another boar here. There's gold. But Overtaken also has some, let's say, back stone and gold or whatever to take. Yeah, Duve, I agree. He says random Civ Nomad produces fun games. Pick Civ Nomad gets tiring. Yeah, I think, you know, the downside of Nomad starts is that there's such a short list of civilizations that are absolutely top tier. And, you know, some players, they don't want to be Civ wind. They don't want to get into the game and then as they're playing through Dark Age, realize there's nothing I can do. Even though that's not always the case too. Like, players always have something they could try. But some players just don't like that. And depending on the day, that includes myself. But I've been doing this for a long time, and I've seen Spanish versus Persians a million times, and I've never seen Magyars Ethiopians. So as boar number 2 comes in for Overtaken, he will weaken the boar with the TC, finish it off with the villagers. Well played. So the trick that people do with weakening the boar with the TC these days on any map, apparently Uzi doesn't want to do that, but you know, players are even doing it on Arabia these days, that actually originated from laggy Nomad games. So the Chinese players started that because like the Chinese community played tons of Nomad over the years. But I'll look at Overtaken, even pushing in a deer with his villager here. But yeah, that was something that happened way back in the day. And then somewhere along the lines, players thought, wait a second, why don't I just do that on normal maps? And I think it was like 2 years ago, it started to become more standard. Double check the scouting. Okay, so Overtaken has very, very... Why did the word escape me? Oh, he has thoroughly scouted the shoreline. So he has not located any docks in, let's say, a fourth of the shoreline. And then, ooh, Uzi might get really lucky, honestly, because he's not even fully scouting the shoreline. But you could tell he's checking. And the goal here is to find the enemy dock location so you can compete for water. To me, it doesn't look like that's going to happen, though. Uzi hasn't been quite as diligent to follow the shoreline, I guess. Out of these two civs, which one would you rather have here? I think I would have Magyars, but I think Ethiopians have a little bit more potential. Because mobility doesn't matter as much on Nomad. Players are much closer together, and I think that makes the strengths of the Ethiopians, like siege, archers, pikemen, a bit stronger than, let's say, knights and cav archers. Also, I love the plus 100 food, the plus 100 gold. I think that can help you out a lot, so... but both players going for docks, so both players are going to go for water. And there's no indicators here. T90, I disagree. Random Civ on Nomad has higher chances of being absolute Civ wins compared to something like Arabia, which I don't think anyone wants to watch. Yeah, but no one wants to watch the same 5 Civs. You're making an argument to play more Arabia, but you're not making an argument to not go Random Civ on Nomad. Like, there's a small argument there, right? And I get it, right? Like, if you get Spanish versus... what's a really bad Nomad Civ? Spanish versus... Well, I'll say Magyars. Spanish versus Magyars. Obviously, Spanish are going to have the lead, but... Random Civ's awesome, man. Especially when it's randomized positions. I love it. Also, you know, it's high-level players. A lot of these guys playing events and whatnot, so, like... Some people are more try-hard than others, but, you know, these guys are playing thousands of games, right? So, Civ win happens here or there, and that's just how it goes. Bengalis. Yeah, maybe Bengalis. All right, so, again, double-checking the scouting here. Overtaken, what he does know is that his opponent is likely not in the north. And now Uzi is going to locate where the docks are for Overtaken with that goose. So we see, well, originally fire galleys were heading towards the north for Uzi. But now he had sent one to the north, and then he had sent one. Oh, don't tell me he blocks with the goose. Oh my God, he blocked with the goose. He has a slight lead on HP because of the goose. What a play. But yeah, you can see Uzi's coming back home now. So he's really concerned. He's like, oh no. And that just comes down to scouting the dock a little late. There is a barracks and there is an archer range, though, for Uzi. And there's a barracks and there's nothing else for Overtaken, who's actually going for Wheelbarrow, which I have to assume is simply because he got pop-capped. Because Wheelbarrow doesn't really have a massive effect on your eco at this stage. It is 6 fishing ships versus 5. But Uzi's been able to fall back now, and this is good play from Uzi. I actually really like Uzi's position as we see a stable now for Overtaken. So we likely will see scouts, and now Uzi's still scouting with some geese. And I think Overtaken's still going to try and build up towards some walls in that area. It's interesting how the scouts are here, though, right? This is definitely where demos can start to land. Players are going to be distracted a bit more with their land presence. This hunt is helpful. Obviously, the fishing ship's helpful, too, but you need more food income. Both players taking additional hunt. We have a market now for Uzi. So, yeah, Uzi's definitely thinking of going up to the next stage. Stables has the scouts over here. Overtaken hasn't... Like, he must know his opponent's TC is here, but he doesn't know where the other resources are. And yeah, this is where a demo is going to fly in. They're both patrolling in. They also spread their ships up. At least Overtaken has done so. And now Uzi is like, ooh, we've got to back away here. Honestly, I think the market was almost instinctive. I don't even think the market was really needed here. But here come the 2 Magyar scouts. Remember, these are cheap. And they also have forging for free. So Uzi pops out with his archers. So far, guys, we've had 0 kills. But it could easily change in a moment. Good scouting from Overtaken. He's probably concerned if he sees his opponent doesn't have upgrades yet. And he decides, let's fight it before this gets worse. And now backs away, uses the market himself to try and get up. Meanwhile, big fights, and there was a big demo there. And that's the defender's advantage paying off once again for Uzi, who probably needs to be careful about moving out too far because there could always be a demo for Overtaken in this area. I mean, the scouts are really moving around to try and find some damage. But Uzi, let's look at the food collected. Yep, Uzi has brought in slightly more food. And also didn't spend food on the military. I think that's important. But, oh boy, Scout has finally found a villager. Let's see if Uzi tries to quick wall this. Oh! Oh! Tries, but fails. Now, I would be a little confused. Now, what we'll probably see, right? Because Uzi's now sending forward archers. And Overtaken's waiting in the choke point with demos. So Uzi needs to be careful about running in here. But I think Uzi's a little confused because he doesn't know where his opponent is. And the scouts came from this area. So he's sending his archers, but he still doesn't really know. Now, he'll be in Castle Age faster, and he will have to make some decisions. And now the archers have moved forward, and now Overtaken gets another pick. So that's 2 eco picks from Overtaken. This is a great game so far. Spearman becomes pikeman immediately with Ethiopian, so that's nice. And here are the archers. They've looped the whole way around. I think Overtaken must know that he's exposed if the army tries to loop, because it's either they come behind his wood line or they have to come over here. And wouldn't you know it, man, here comes the army. And Overtaken's now going to save his villagers. I mean, his TC's up, the walls here should complete, and this is perfect defense. Now, an important thing to talk about now is that Uzi invested into the crossbow upgrades. So crossbow and then also bodkin. So did not research War Galley to save the fish. And Overtaken will have some decisions to make. But Overtaken will still have 2 scouts running around. Still has a stable to make a knight or 2. And Overtaken's actually going to go for the siege here. And I guess these scouts looped around to see, how the army had moved to get to his base. And we have the War Galley choice for Overtaken. This is a great Nomad game. Uzi's going for town centers, so he wants more villagers. It's all about land eco now. And so it's going to be land boom and defense, sort of. Obviously still has the potential to kill villagers here. But if Overtaken can kill the fish, Overtaken could then completely dominate water and then fish more. You never know. I think Overtaken's going to see this TC and be like, ooh, wait a second. And his scout activity's been awesome. He actually sees it's going to be 3 TCs, and he sees the monastery. That's sick. Here comes the knight. Knight gets a hit. That knight will die pretty fast, though, I think. +2 armor isn't in. So 1 knight for 1 crossbow is simply not a good trade. Okay, here they come. The demos are waiting. So you've got the upgraded ships. I would love to see the demo move forward. Uzi's fleeing. Uzi realizes this is an issue. And BAM! Okay. Okay, there was no explosion. But there will be. BAM! Nope. Okay, still moving. BAM! Boom! And we have demos coming out from Uzi, but Uzi cannot afford War Galley. Also, Uzi sees there's going to be siege now, so I think he might continue to send villagers to Stone for guard tower defense, or maybe even a castle. A few lage demos are not going to be the most exciting thing in the long term, but okay, some decent booms there. And the fish are still working. I think that's the biggest thing here. The fish are still working, and we have a tiny little counterattack army from Uzi. Look at the micro from Overtaken, trying his best to keep his ships alive. Doesn't make it happen. Still, these crossbows are here for Uzi, but here comes the push now from Overtaken. And again, what do? Do you go guard tower, or do you go castle drop? Because this can get out of hand very quickly. Especially with Overtaken, because Overtaken's a super aggressive player, is very good with all-ins. And I've highlighted that in some of my videos on Arabia, but I haven't ever seen it on Nomad. But man, like, Uzi's done a great job with these crossbowmen. It's also coming in on the gold at the same time. So it makes it more awkward to push like this when you have to get army home. And it's just annoying amounts, too. It didn't take a lot of investment. It's getting a lot of value. I love the play here to go for the range, but notice how now Overtaken has to send the knights home. And look what Uzi's doing. Oh, this is such a good game! I don't know if I'm just in a good mood today, but this game is quality. Both these players are playing amazing Age of Empires. Because this is the correct play, right? You have to clear that so you can take your gold. But now, if you're Overtaken's position, you could tell he kind of senses something. He's like, this could be a problem. And he sees this now. And he attack grounds. He actually kills his own scout, but the scout was a kiss away from death anyways. And now he could lose all the siege to camels. Actually, wait a second. Oh, no. Oh, no. Careful with your monks here. Oh, no. The camel might go down. The monks now have to dodge. If the knight gets converted, it's a disaster. No! Ah, that was so close. That could have easily been a conversion. Ooh, well, Overtaken now realizes there's camels. And so he has to wait maybe for his own monks or wait for more knights. And we have a castle drop from Uzi. And that's going to be right on that wood line as this will finally get cleared up. But again, I'll state, those crossbows got so much value. So when someone asked me before which civilization I preferred, I said that I preferred Ethiopians because they're better in, like, close quarters, right? I think we've seen a bit of that. We haven't seen, like, knights moving around to different areas at all. It's just, like, kind of pick a spot and stick to it. I mean, that said, it's been impressive from Uzi. As Overtaken now wants to get monks. But that monastery will be up, and there's still nothing to stop this castle from going up. And that's a tough position to defend from. Also, the fact that there's still been 5 fishing ships working after Overtaken invested into trying to control water is huge. I know it's not like the most important thing at this stage, but still, that's a really big deal. And I just think that you're outnumbered and you're kind of out-teched at this point if you're Overtaken. This is what he wanted to work for him. He wanted to snowball the push on the hill. It actually wouldn't have been that bad for him if it was a strong enough push where Uzi would have dropped a defensive castle. Because then he still has all this space, but now eventually this TC gets shot down. Now he needs new buildings at home. And I like the addition from camels from Uzi, because he could have just tried to go pikemen thinking that camels aren't that strong in Ethiopians, but it's not like he needed camels to be... Oh, sick attack ground. It's not like he needed the camels to be upgraded. Sadly, the camels are going to take out the siege. I guess Overtaken was trying to loop the long way around home. And this is all Uzi right now. Eco is still close, but Overtaken is trapped. The eco was less than ideal for the Estonian player. Don't say that every day. Monk is still trying to survive. Goes down, and yup. This is a panic TC. This is panic siege. I guess he needs defense here. And, oh, don't lose your pikeman here, Uzi. He needs defense here. And then he needs this to do something for him, I think. And I think if you're Uzi, you should sell the barn and just go up to Imp. You've got a forward castle. I don't even think you need to prioritize that many more villagers. If you can just get Trebs out, man. Like, even if you stop creating vills and your opponent isn't it, like, has 20 more vills than you, but you're an Imp with Trebs, Trebs are going to accomplish so much. And you can see he sold the barn. He sold everything he could. And we'll probably click up to Imp. And yeah, I mean, for Overtaken, he's going to... his one last chance in this game. And that's going to come down to a couple big fights. Interestingly enough, he's adding his own pikemen, I guess, because he saw camels. Yeah, like pike, siege. And then maybe some monks could do it. But, alright, we're going to see a tower here. This is amazing for Uzi. Upon seeing the tower, he'll think his opponent's going into guard tower defense, and he'll say, great, I'll just treb that down. Also, more archers on the way from Uzi. So much gold and stone control. He can take whatever he wants. And I think Overtaken has his fingers crossed that his opponent's not on the way to Imp. Sometimes you have indicators of that. Other times you do not. Yep, there's fletching now. Needing to invest into that. And guard tower to be able to defend this position. Sold the barn. You don't know that phrase? I don't even know. I don't even know if I know the phrase. There's definitely a few phrases growing up that incorporate the word barn. But I grew up in like kind of like a country town, so it's a weird statement, I'll admit. The KD is very close. But in the end, I think Uzi's decision to drop the town centers and then what he was able to accomplish with his crossbowmen was insane. He only had maybe like 8 crossbowmen that really played a big part in Castle Age. But the amount of idle time that they forced. Oh, Showtail raid. Let's go. Let's go. Showtails are so cool looking, man. Hey, what are you doing? They kind of look like a Ninja Turtle with like their shell on their back. All right, here we go. I don't really look like a Ninja Turtle, actually. I don't know where my brain was going. But there's Imp, and we might see the game called here from Overtaken. The crossbowmen come in. The Showtail goes on for a big hit there on the siege. And the... Oh, my God. Uzi's on fire, man. That was so sick. Now, of course, his archer number is higher, and he'll get more upgrades on it. He did just make a TC here, which will tell him where that siege came from earlier. But the TCs are all going to start to go down for Overtaken. He's not going to quit. New TC on the shoreline. Talk about a view. All right. This TC being defended by a guard tower. Should be able to keep this up. At least from the siege. I actually don't think the guard tower will hit the units here. But we will have a castle here from Uzi to protect this location. And yep, once Bodcanero came in, the units get pushed back a little bit more. We do have a Knight Raid here from Overtaken. He's needed a counterattack for some time now. He actually has double the amount on food. The problem is he's not spending food. But like I said, like Nomad is about punching people in the face fast. It's not a map that's really about, even though you think it would be about expanding, it's not really expanding in the same way with like farming eco and mobility, as I mentioned before. And yeah, there's the GG from Overtaken. Honestly, his eco's in a really good spot, and he could probably make it to the Imperial Age. But by the time he makes it to Imperial Age, he will then have lost most of his villagers. That's a good game. It's a really fun game. You know, Overtaken in Titans League ended up being 5th in his group, in Group D. He was a great player in Titans League, but that means he would have to play in Silver to try and make it back for Season 2 Gold. I think he's one of the favorites to maybe do that because of how good he is. And then Uzi will likely be in that Silver as well. So when that time comes, come like December or whatever, I'll give you guys more info ahead of time, obviously. But if you want to follow how that progression goes for the next Titans League, I think these two names might face each other. Probably not with Ethiopians versus Magyars on Nomad, but in some capacity, you might see them play. Yeah, really close game. I think, in my mind, Uzi chose town centers and land aggression, and then Overtaken chose he chose water control, and Overtaken didn't actually take out the fish. And I think that if he takes out the fish, then he's mindful of it and adds more fish. Right, so it's like your opponent gets town centers, maybe gets the like 5 villagers out ahead of you, but then boom, you take out 5 or 6 fishing ships and then add 5 or so more, and then the eco's somewhat even. That was where he struggled to find some damage. That's an easy trap for me. That is so complicated for me. So I relate to that so much. If I don't go water, I lose my fishing ships. And I'm like sitting there like, oh God, why didn't I prioritize water? And then if I do go water, I never kill their fishing ships. And then they just add the TCs. Like, I feel like this is a very relatable game for me. watching from Overtaken's position. But I guess I just don't have the attention to detail to be able to snipe those fish. It is tricky, man. There's like so many narrow passages to move through. Your opponent could always have demos. And then if they attack you on land, obviously you're distracted. GG.